Human Settlements Minister Thembi Simelane shared damning findings of an investigation into the tragic collapse of a multi-storey building in George, which claimed 34 lives. She revealed that the National Home Builders Registration Council had neglected its internal processes during the registration phase, contributing to the disaster. To take this conversation further, we're joined now by Kululwa, CEO of the South African Institute of Black Property Practitioners. Kululwa, good to have you. Thank you very much for your time. Are you aware of these lapses in terms of processes within the institution?
Good afternoon, Thabo. Thank you for having me. We have not seen the full report, but we have seen in the media that the Minister of Human Settlements has reported on the findings of the investigation. So we are very keen to actually see and read the full report.
A body like the National Home Builders Registration Council would need to have, I suppose, particular systems in place to prevent such incidences from happening. In your experience, are people allowed to construct buildings without having gone through those stringent processes?
Well, they should not be. They are not allowed. It is law that builders must be registered with the NHBRC, and I think the Act really just prescribes, how that process should flow, and enforces, or rather prescripts that people should comply, well, the enforcement then becomes a different issue, which comes out, in the day-to-day operations. But no, they are certainly not allowed to build without being registered themselves as builders and having their projects registered with the NHBRC.
As Black property practitioners, do you find that these particular requirements prohibit, I suppose, your entry into the space?
I think there will always be, views that regulatory frameworks, are inhibiting. But the reality is that they are there to protect the integrity of the processes, the integrity of the building industry, the integrity of, builders, and protecting the consumers at the end of the day. So whilst they may be considered stringent, they are absolutely necessary. Compliance is there for a reason, and there is no rationale for it to be neglected or avoided.
Yeah. One of the findings here in terms of this particular review, the minister saying that they find that the application was lax. The finding is that the necessary documentation which was submitted by this company represented by Mr. Kruger to ensure that all the sectional work and tilting and environmental work was correct were actually not reviewed properly. I wonder if this feels to you like a disadvantage, and maybe this particular company would have been placed at an advantage when other businesses are expected to actually follow those review processes.
And that's one of the biggest concerns, Thabo, because all home builders are expected to comply, and not doing so can be, considered a criminal offense. And this particular developer and contractor were, placed in a position of privilege by being allowed, to circumvent that process. Firstly, the submission was late after construction had commenced, when it should be at least 15 days prior to the commencement of the project. And secondly, registered as a one-story building when it's actually a multi-story building, and that naturally then influences the stringency of the process and the financial implications on how much they should be paying towards registering this particular project. So them being in a position of circumventing that process not only undermines the integrity of the home builders industry, but also encourages those that are looking to, go around the systems that are created to protect us by going against it, because they will then see that there are some who are able to circumvent the process. Whatever their reasons may have been, it is completely unacceptable.
Yeah, part of the reason why you are, of course, established or you exist is to address the inclusivity, or at least the imbalances that are existing within this particular space. So what do you think should certainly be lessons learned out of this as far as reform in regulation, reform in practice that needs to be put in place?
You know, one of the big conversations that we are having this year, and this leads to our annual convention, which is later in the year, is, a discussion around increasing a focus on impact and not just on compliance. And we would take then that compliance is the bare minimum. And through compliance, you are able then to navigate your way towards actual impact in the way we do things, in the representation in the sector. But now when we see that we are still trailing behind in compliance from the institutions that are set up by government to actually protect, the regulatory framework, it then means that we're worlds away from actually seeing impact in changing the landscape in the property sector. So for us to still be focused on, compliance, which is at bare minimum, it means that it is really then setting us back, because impact then really becomes a faraway dream.
Kululwa, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Kululwa Muthwa, CEO of the South African Institute of Black Property Practitioners. They're responding to the report, damning report maybe, into the collapse of that building in Gqeberha that would have cost 34 lives. Right?